Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're talking about how your body is calling and how you need to pick up the freaking phone. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why body awareness and listening to your body is so important for your health. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. Cherish it.
Cherish it. Love it. Praise it.
Love it. I'm listening to my body right now. It does not like me.
I know. So is it because we're sick or because of the seed?
So that's the thing is, okay, so I don't think it's seed. So I'm trying seed. You guys listen to Dr. Julie's podcast. She's a big fan of seed. So I was like, yeah, I love her. So I'm going to try it. But I was talking to Jenny last Thursday and I was like, I'm so run down right now. Like I could have literally closed my eyes and went to sleep. And I was like, why? Like I slept fine. I'm eating enough.
You can't be pregnant.
I can't be pregnant.
I'm not pregnant.
Right? Yeah. So, and even then, like we track my symptoms of my cycle.
Oh, yeah.
So usually they're going to be around this week, like not this week, next week. And so I'm just like, what is going on? And now I felt like this on Sunday. So just to put into context, like Dustin was in town this weekend. We went out Friday, then had brunch and came home Saturday. So like we were home by like 1 p.m.
Yeah.
We sat around, we like hung out with the family, ate at home, made our own food, like nothing crazy. I woke up Sunday and I felt horrible. Like
when
horrible.
Did you start the seed?
I started it on Thursday. No, I started it on Friday. So this tiredness was on Thursday. Yeah.
It could be because you have to think you guys traveled, right? For quite some time. And then you had to get your shit together. And now that your shit's together, your body's like, now we have time to be sick.
Yeah. It hurts like in my right here, which is always like sinus for me. And I get these sinus things all the time, but I've been doing what the doctor said. So for you guys, I used to get like a chronic sinus infections. And I asked my doctor, I'm like, I know this is allergy related. Like I get whatever gets in the air, it gets into my nose. And instead of like getting sick where you have like all the stuff in your nose and you can blow it out, it goes into postnasal drip. So then I have a cough. And so my doctor's like, okay, you need to take Flonase and Claritin every single day until it hits 100 degrees. But now I'm in a different climate. So I'm just still taking it. But I don't know if it still feels the same. It feels like in here. I remember last year when I was in Palm Springs, I got so sick.
Yep.
Literally the same time of year. Literally.
That's what, I think I'm going to rule out seed.
Yeah. Sorry, seed. Well,
sorry, seed. I know.
Maybe one day we'll have a commercial for seed.
That'd be cool. I can't remember the last time I took like probiotics or anything like that. So.
Well, and the background on the seed thing, guys, is on the actual container. It says like you may feel like nauseous and have some effects because it's working, right? Like it's kicking up an immune response. But I slept probably 16 hours yesterday. Yeah. And I meant to, so because of feeling tired on Thursday, I didn't work out. I just walked. And then I was like, well, I'll just push my workout to Sunday so I can hit all 4. Nope. Did not work out. Did not finish my series, but it's all good. I also didn't, I didn't move much. Didn't do a lot. I tried to like ride the bike that my in-laws have. And I just was like, I'm so clammy and hot and gross. I'm going back to sleep. So here we are, but nothing else. Like I don't have like a cough. I just have pressure in my brain and I feel like I'm going to vomit.
That says a lot about how you feel, because for you to not do anything when you feel sick, like you usually kind of do stuff, like you're still very present. But for you to actually go and pass out and whatnot and go back to bed, I'm like, ooh, she really doesn't feel good.
Well, and that's something I learned. This is probably in the past 10 years is especially because I was getting those chronic like things that like if I'm feeling it, just go to sleep. Like even if it, it's not bad, like just try to rest as much as possible. And now obviously yesterday, like it was more than resting. Like I needed to go to sleep, not just like lay there and like be kind of chill. And yeah, I don't know. I can go to sleep right now. I wanted to. It's very interesting. Very interesting. So we'll
how
see
was
how
it with
this plays
Dustin
out.
on the weekend though?
So fun.
Yeah.
We went to the Pirates game. It was so freaking fun. They had the best fireworks. Like Pittsburgh does fireworks well.
Really?
I was like a kid in a fireworks show.
Okay.
It was great. And then went out afterwards. That was whatever. Went home, woke up, had a really good brunch. And he was there. It was his best friend. He's got a lot of best friends because he's a great guy.
Yeah.
They do like a yearly trip because she lives in DC and obviously he lives in Phoenix or soon to be Oklahoma. So we kind of bowed out to allow them to have their time together. What'd you do? What'd you do this weekend? You went to the birth event.
I did go to that birth event.
Yeah.
That was on Saturday. So Thursday, I picked up Michael from the airport, but he's now gone again. He's at camp, like a kids camp for asthmatic kids.
Aww.
And he's never been to summer camp. So we had a lot of instructions on what the hell you bring to summer camp because I'm experienced summer camper. So
interesting. I've never been to summer camp.
You've never? Okay. So apparently it's abnormal that I went to summer camp because I've been asking all my clients today, like, did you go to summer camp? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, well, I went to like camp every year, essentially. And it was like,
nice.
Yeah, it's like a sleepaway camp. So you're gone for a week. So we got him ready to go to camp like a big boy and got him all packed. I know he loved it because I'd be like, you ready to pack? And make sure you bring your towel and shower shoes. So he did that Thursday. He got back Friday, just kind of hung out. And then Saturday, yes, I went to that birth worker event, which was very nice. It was actually probably, so I've been to a lot of networking events. And this, as probably most people have been to a lot, but different groups have different ways of conducting the event. And so I have learned that certain groups, I just don't collaborate well with how they conduct the event. I don't think it's very a useful time of like networking. And I thought,
I remember you saying that, where it's like everyone like,
like
something about themselves and then we're done.
Yeah. If everybody, so like my thing is, if there's 30 plus people, we don't need to all introduce ourselves in a circle because that's going to take, you figure 30 times 2, because it takes about 2 minutes on average. So there's an hour of us just introducing. That's if people stay within like a 2-minute range, which they don't.
Right.
So to me, I'm like, okay, within that hour, I could have made 30 connections one-on-one more so, or at 15. So this was a good event because it was in a smaller office and there was maybe about, I want to say about 12 to 15 girls or women, I should say, providers. And it's to the point where I'm kind of recognizing certain ones over and over again, but to have Julie there and then Sonia was there too. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I know you. I know you too. And
she owns the
chiropractor part. Yeah. And so it was nice just to talk to Julie, and because I had ironically just listened to the podcasts that morning. So I was like, oh, okay. So it was good. I made some other connections there. It was short and sweet, which I appreciate too. They did a good job hosting. And then came home. And then yesterday I ended up just laying in the pool for a while.
Nice.
And I know. So I was like, okay. And I actually got a lot more done than I thought I would because I had those other episodes that I needed to like just re-listen to and clip the reels and all of that. So I got those done too. So I actually need to send those to Ira. Yeah. So we've got some good banking in the podcast world. And that was about it. Like I said, my weekends now are just as needed, whatever we need to do as needed. Yeah. Cause I know come 2-3 o'clock is when I start to crash. And so it's just, I'm trying to learn like how to take care of that and be okay.
Good.
It's hard.
You had me thinking. My old supervisor for so when you're a therapist, you have to have so many like supervision hours under like a therapist who basically, so you don't like harm anyone. The therapist that you go under is a independently licensed therapist. And, Amy was mine, and she actually is a therapist for postpartum.
Oh,
I think would be a great interview.
That would be a good interview too.
Yeah. So she's,
will you ask her
reach out to her.
Do it? Yeah.
I'll reach out to her. So it's been fun interviewing people.
I know. I have a lot of fun.
And then we're like, teach me. And like with Julie, I'm like, we're going to have 75 other episodes beyond this one because I feel like there's so many things I want to ask you right now.
Right. Well, and that was amazing. Like with the doula and the pelvic PT, when I was talking, they were kind of like, there's a lot we can cover. And I was like, I'm aware we're going to cover over like 101 class. And then, because even with a doula, what she was like, we should probably go over like birth interventions and the pros and cons of that, of like talking about like autonomy and making that choice and how to advocate for yourself. And I was like, yeah, but not today. Like,
not today.
And then even the pelvic PT, she does a really good job of presenting, and she's kind of got her P's and Q's appropriately. And even that, I was like, I feel like we could have discussed quite a bit more of just, and her and I went into more mindset too of it as well. So that was interesting to hear her talk about. And then she emphasized like the gals who work out before, during, and pregnancy tend to have a better recovery. So I was like, yes, thank you for saying that. Please clip that reel for us. So last week, actually, I kind of need a softer weekend because I was just busy. Like we recorded Tuesday, I had something, I forget what. Wednesday, I recorded with the doula, and then I had my calls. Thursday, she came over, and then we recorded. So like by Friday, I was like, I have no tongue. I cannot talk.
Yes, you did a lot of recording because we recorded Monday and Wednesday.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So
cool. No, good. I'm glad that you have the boundaries, and this can be a lot of fun, you guys. Podcasting is fun. Everyone should do it. I told an Uber driver she should have a podcast in her Uber.
Oh no! Of course she did.
I would totally listen to that. Like, tell me you wouldn't listen to like your 5-minute like podcast interviews in the Uber. Like,
yes,
of course I would.
I would.
I wanted to be on Cash Cab so badly.
Really?
I love random trivia. I don't know a lot of things, but I love to try real hard. I like to try real hard.
I thought they could have like, didn't they have like clues and stuff? I don't remember.
They had 3 kind of lifelines, and then they had like it was I believe it was like multiple, maybe it wasn't even multiple choice. It was hard.
This is
we were in New York City, and I was like, "Are you the Cash Cab?"
I'm like, I'll wait. Next one.
Standing there, I'm like, "Ma'am, get off the corner." But I want that to be a podcast. Speaking of podcasts, if you guys like this podcast, we'd love for you to share it. We want to, dominate this industry. And it takes you, our listeners, to help get the word out of this podcast. Because again, we don't have a lot of women in the top 10 of the health space. I think I did see Rhonda Patrick get in there.
Really? Yes. I looked it up the other day and I was like, it's all boys.
Dude. So speaking of dudes, let's talk about your body.
Well, here's a better intro. So speaking of body awareness and you being aware of what your body needs and you telling me, oh, good job for listening to your boundaries and your energy levels. Let's talk about today's topic.
Your body's calling, baby.
Baby. I had a really hard time with this until I learned it.
Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. She's calling. And you're just like, no.
Yeah. You're like, I'll go hook up with that fuck boy that keeps calling instead.
Right.
And he's not good for you.
He's not. Listening to your body is one of the most challenging things I think our clients experience. They grew up in an environment, which we've talked about multiple times. Not everyone, but most of them grew up in an environment where they took care of other people's needs. So if I'm taking care of others' needs, guess what I'm not listening to? My body. They may have been told that the way that they felt was wrong. I think oftentimes, like, you're not full, eat the rest of what's on your plate, right?
Mhm.
Or you're crying, let me give you something to cry about, right? So, like, kind of telling them, like, say you're crying, so you're obviously upset in some way, you're having emotion, and you want to stop eating because your body feels a certain way, but your parent is telling you that's wrong or you're wrong, right? Or something more significant, you've had trauma, so we're dissociating, we're disconnecting from our bodies, or we've had all three, right? And connecting to your body is one of the most important things in this process, mindset and physical. Because if we're not picking up the phone, we're just kind of trying to, like, make changes to our bodies and do things that it may make worse or may not create progress or, so even exacerbate the coping skills we are using, because those coping skills we think are taking care of our emotions or our physical self, but they're not. So I thought it'd be a good topic to talk about. And women, ladies specifically.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic. And when we were going back and forth on what we were going to talk about today, when we were doing this one, I was like, God, this was me, of like, I don't exist within my body. My body exists for me to
Mm.
do what I'm telling it needs to do. So, like, one of my mantras back in the time when I really struggled with this before was like, my brain is going to tell my body what it needs to do. And then instead of, when I started going through my crap and kind of realizing like, oh, this isn't working for me. And now there's a lot more to that story, but it was more so of like, my body needs to tell my brain what it needs to do. And so when I
Yeah.
could kind of like reiterate that, like reiterate it. So like, for example, you're sick, like my body's telling my brain that I need to go rest my body, and not because honestly, if you could, or like not if you could, if you really wanted to, you probably could have stayed on that bike and like battled it out and gotten like the sweat out, the sickness. But
That's
learning
also
this is
not a
one,
thing.
yeah, not correct. But like learning this was probably one of the hardest things, because again, I think there's so many reasons why we disassociate from our body. And so again,
Mhm.
until you can find why you do that, what that caused that, and kind of go, okay, now I have awareness of that. But what am I going to do about it now? And now how do I constantly check in without it feeling like overtaxing is another
Mhm.
thing too.
Mhm. Yeah. A lot of programs talk about, like, intuitive eating, right?
Yes.
Or intuitive movement, but what they're not, they just assume that person has a connection to to themselves.
Yes.
And so they'll start teaching this method and the person's like, uh, I'm bless you.
Thanks.
I'm I I have no idea what's going on. I've had so many people be like, "Oh, not until you told me to check in with myself did I realize how numb I was."
Right.
And I'll share my story. Mine was actually emotional. I was working at Child Help. Child Help is a um, center for children. It was a part of the Child Advocacy Center in Phoenix that included the Phoenix PD, the forensic team from Phoenix Children's Hospital, and ourselves, and child welfare services. And we were the therapists. And I worked some really, really bad child abuse cases. And as time went on, I would be going through these cases, talking about it, testifying, so on and so forth. And it wasn't until I had an intern who, we were the last ones there on a Friday, and we had this family coming in. I won't give details about what happened. However, I had to tell the children of this family that their mother was deceased. And I have an intern with me who's standing there in this room, like staring at me, like, I can't, I can't, I can't. And I'm like, okay, go, you can go. And I'm the one who has to do this. Now, luckily for me, ended up being that the grandparents had already had the conversation. So we didn't actually have to do it, but it was that process of, and then the children had actually walked through the crime scene. So now we're assessing them on that, right? So I get in my car and I'm sitting there and I'm like, cry, please cry, like, please cry.
Yeah.
And I
Like it's the
couldn't.
normal thing to do.
Yes, nothing, zero. So I drove to church. I sat at the back and I just sat there and I was like, God, like, I need to feel something here. Cause I'm telling you guys a very
Whitewashed
mellow,
version. Yeah.
correct part of this story. And I couldn't do it.
So
And I
can I
called my
ask
dad. Mhm.
at this time, so like what is going through, are you thinking like, are you feeling like, is this normal that I'm not crying? Like I should be crying?
Oh
Like, are
no,
you
I knew
feeling
it wasn't
guilty?
normal.
Okay. So,
I
okay.
1000% knew it wasn't normal.
So then are you feeling like scared? Like, okay, this
Scared.
isn't normal. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm scared. And I'm like, I call my dad and I'm like, this just happened. I'm like the Tin Man. I want to be the Cowardly Lion right now. Like, I
Mhm.
want to be the Cowardly Lion, and I am literally the Tin Man, and I don't know what to do. And that was part of the reason why I kind of like just left therapy in general. I mean, that was probably a year and a half before I completely bowed out. But even just that intern, like seeing this young girl be like, I can't do this. Like, are you crazy? You know? And I'm like, yes, I am. That's why
Yeah.
I'm doing it. And that whole experience made me think, wow, like I'm so disconnected emotionally right now. And that was a part of my trauma too, like being able to disconnect in that way. And now when I cry, like at a TV show or a commercial, I'm like, yeah, did it. Or now I watch shows that talk about that stuff and I'm like, nope, I can't watch this anymore because it's too much. Whereas before I'd be like, I mean, yeah, that was my experience with it personally. And then obviously, pushing through all the time. And that's where, I say about 10 years ago, I was like, when I'm feeling sick like this, I need to rest, like I need to
Right.
sleep. But prior to that, I mean, I bartended, you don't get sick days.
Mm-mm.
So you figure it out. Like you also, you're not getting any sort of PTO, none of that. So you've got to work. Um, and the same is true until I tore my labrum with my body. And then finally it was like, huh, psych.
Yeah, that was
You can't.
that was me. Like until I actually got surgery, it was like, oh, I guess I can't do that. And
Mhm.
so that was mine was more physical. I mean, there was a mental component because of what was going on mentally, but I was using the exercise as a way to manage the emotionals part or the
Mhm.
frustration, anything I was feeling. And then physically, my body was screaming. And it's so funny. Literally, I was going to a CrossFit gym kind of, and I
Mhm.
stopped going to the CrossFit gym because I would have to modify so much of the workout. And that wasn't
Yep.
a sign enough. Like, and so then it was like, well, I'll just do stuff in my home gym and figure it out there. And then it became worse and worse to where I was modifying like so much that that's when I started going to physical therapy and started down that road. But I would
Mhm.
still keep going.
Yeah.
And what certainly didn't help, and I know this physical therapist was coming from the best intention. She was like, no, you need to keep trying to do what you normally do, because she's thinking from a movement standpoint. And so but recognizing who I was at the time, looking and going like, well, that means I don't know if she didn't fully understand like how I treated myself. You
Right.
know what I mean? And so that's why that recommendation came from. But that meant like I got the inch and I took the mile. And so
Yeah.
it literally took
Well,
me getting
Dr. Brian's the same way.
really.
Like, yeah, he's like, you wanna keep moving through it, but then he's
Yeah.
like, he's watching you too
Yes.
and, like,
Yes.
giving you some parameters.
Yeah. And so it literally took like, here's surgery and you can't do it. Like walking was like odd.
Oof.
Um, and so even then, like going through the physical therapy part of post-op, I would use like those movements as I'll just get back to how I was. Like, I just got to get through this. I just got to like still not listening to my body at that time.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
no.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the concept of, like, being aware or body awareness or introception
Yes.
introception is the actual name,
Yeah.
is what we're talking about today. So we're gonna talk about it just not only from a physical standpoint, like you're talking about, but an emotional standpoint, because in our experiences, this has affected us both in those ways. And it's really about like observing your body and really having an understanding of what's going on, setting time for yourself to really check in or and or pay attention to the keys. Pay attention to the headache. Pay attention to, like me, feeling very nauseous, right? And then understanding what's going on in general. I would like to talk about, like, not only, like, we kind of touched on why this is important, but there's, a lot of things that people don't realize that even beyond health and wellness, like having body awareness is important, right? So, even just knowing where your body is in space, right? Especially as we age. Because if we're in a situation, and like for me with my hip injury, I can't hip hinge in a certain foot pattern, or my feet are a certain way, because I will tweak my hip. Okay. So it might be just like a weird thing where I'm like, I don't know, standing over something and picking it up, right? Where I might be a little bit elevated or something like that. But as we age, specifically, like knowing where we are in space is going to help us, like being aware of ourselves in space, being aware where our foot placement is, being aware where our core is, where is our, what's it called? Alignment is going to help us from falling down. Yeah, thank you. Is going to help us from falling down. And as we've said, when we fall down, we break. When we break, we die. So that spatial awareness is incredibly important in regards to understanding your body. And that's a part of that body awareness, right? What else would you say are some like key like benefits of body awareness?
Yeah. And I think you touched on it too, but to further like put the label on it is exercise form, right? So you're talking about, okay, yeah, if I lift something up, but okay, we could talk about for you deadlifting, like there's a certain stance that's just not comfortable for you. If you're not aware that these positions are uncomfortable, like especially if you're aiding an injury, then we can't support the injury. We're going to make it worse. And so again, if we're shutting it down, then you're only exacerbating it too. And so I think not only being aware of where our body is in space, but being aware of what its limitation is in that space.
Absolutely. And just being able to make that mind muscle connection in movement. If we're talking about exercise and form, it's so important. A lot of people don't realize, like in strength training specifically, we have a stretch portion of the movement and a contraction portion of the movement, right? And that's really where we're going to get that range of motion. But if we're just moving, right? We're just moving, we're not paying attention to it. We might be doing a movement and literally not seeing results because we're not slowing down and making that connection to our bodies. But also, there's so many things. For example, we've talked about this in our coaching program. We have a video that everyone has to watch that Coach Amanda and I did, and it's walking through each of the movements.
I just looked at that in my notes real quick of like, oh wait, didn't we do a video on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about like how your hip thrust, some people will feel it more in their quads compared to their glutes, right? And even just telling us that, that's going to help us as your coach say, okay, let's move the placement of your footing, right? Another thing we do is we do a movement assessment with every single one of our clients to see the range of motion in a variety of different movements, so that we can then also help them with mobility, right? So that's going to help us understand. And our movement assessment might be the first time that person realized, oh, my wrists are tight as fuck. Oh, my shoulders only go to like a 90-degree angle. It's really important. The other thing we talked about, obviously, is my stuff, is the emotional understanding, right? Being able to understand the blueprint of your emotions. That is such an amazing benefit to connecting and listening to your body. That is going to help you know how you're feeling. And we have to remember your feelings. I've said this, I don't think I've said it on the podcast. I've been saying it lately. Your feelings are like a stoplight. They're going to tell you proceed forward, proceed with caution, or stop, right? And it's a part of your emotions too, I think, are very much in alignment with your values, what you value, your respect for yourself, of course. And if we're not connected to that, we're going to allow people to take advantage of us. We're going to put ourselves in situations that are not safe for us, both physically and emotionally. And we're going to create coping skills for our emotions that we're not feeling, that allow us to feel. Does that make sense? So
You're going to create something that masks the true feeling that you're having, and you're going to think the feeling that the coping uh, tool or mechanism or
response
action,
to.
the
Mhm.
coping response is your truth, we'll say,
Correct.
as in millennial terms, when the truth is actually something that you're not identifying.
Mhm.
Does that make
Uh,
sense?
Absolutely. I interrupt this episode to bring to you our June discount on our one-to-one coaching program. Y'all do not want to miss this. If you are someone who needs accountability, support, someone to hold your hand through this really tough work of rewiring your mind to let go of yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, binge eating, excessive exercise, this is a program for you. The Mindset Method one-to-one coaching, again, is our most intimate program. You get a one-to-one call with your coach every single week. Every week, y'all. This allows you to process, understand the underlying and root causes to the behaviors that you need to rid yourself in an effort to see the results you desire. On top of that, you get direct access to your coach through our messenger and our app any time of the day or week, your coach being there to help you on the other side. You get customized nutrition protocols as well as well phased and well programmed exercise protocols. And these will change over the period of the 4 months that you're with your coach. On top of that, you get resources, self care resources, resources to help you with your nutrition, access to our amazing community of women, and so much more. For the month of June, using the code June Mindset, you are going to get $250 off our Mindset Method one-to-one coaching program. You will not want to miss this. Seats are limited as we only have so many clients that we are open to taking. If you are interested, you will want to sign up for a clarity call, the link being below. And in this clarity call, we're both interviewing each other. This program takes a lot of work. You need to be ready, willing, and able to do this work. And so myself and Coach Amanda will decide if you are ready and if you are a good candidate for our program, as well as we hope you decide if we're a good candidate for your coach. And so if you are interested in that, please click the link below. This is only going to be offered to our podcast listeners, so take advantage of it. Other than that, let's get back to the show. I think of my client who used exercise, and when we actually pulled back the curtain, she said, honestly, it's the only time I feel anything in my body.
Right.
Because she's been dissociated for a long time.
Right.
And again, we talked about the physical symptoms, but not just, it's beyond exercise. Like, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you tired?
Mm-hmm.
Are you nauseous? Do you have head pressure like me? Or for you, it's getting around like a certain time of the day. I need to like cool my jets and calm down, and it's so important. Then we advance it to, again, mind body connection in your workouts, really focusing on, that range of motion. Then we can advance it to intuitive eating. Like those are all advancements, but until we actually do the thing, it doesn't matter. We're never going to get there.
Right.
Never going to get there.
Right.
So some of the things that, when we're listening to our body, they're going to help us, especially in a health and wellness journey or whatever goals we have, is when we're listening to our body. And it's funny because I think about Adam on Mind Pump. I was talking to him, and he may have said this on the podcast. Oops, sorry. I was talking to him, and he was like, it's interesting. He was on doing that Ozempic trial. Is he still doing that?
I don't know.
I thought he stopped.
I think he stopped, but the other ones are now doing it.
Oh God.
I know.
Oh man. So I haven't been able to listen, but he was saying how his body just naturally wanted whole foods.
Yeah.
Because, he wasn't eating enough, and the nutrients that he desired, like the nutrients his body needed, like he was literally craving them. Right. And so sometimes like we'll want to crave certain things that aren't those like sugary foods, those, hyper palatable foods. It's because our body needs them. I went on that bout with the peanuts, and I wanted to make it that my body needed healthy fats.
Yeah. Crunchy
healthy fats. It could have been, but I'll see myself kind of attracted to certain types of foods because of different reasons.
Yeah.
And so being able to kind of listen to my body, know when I'm hungry, make food choices based on
Right.
not only the craving, but just being hungry in general. So that's definitely an advantage. What else? What do you think is the advantage
No,
of
I
this?
have actually, I want to share an example of this too when we're talking about like behaviors towards body awareness, like in
Mhm.
promoting that is so, for example, this client that started with me, when she filled out her intake form, she talked about how she would use coconut water or dates to help suppress her hunger. And one of
Mm,
her things was that she wanted to like learn with me is how to not be so hungry all the time. And I thought, okay, like I know the answer, but we got to get her to the answer. And so it's so
mhm,
funny because she's been coming for a couple weeks now, and I've given her some tips and tools that work for her and her lifestyle. And so today I was asking her about it of like, how are you feeling? Do you notice a difference? Because she was having like basically eggs, a protein bar, a protein shake, and then like
mm.
oatmeal for dinner, for example.
And then
Something
dates
rough.
and coconut
Yeah,
water.
and then coconut water and dates for appetite suppressant. And so what we've got her doing is now like have the apple or have the eggs with some avocado and cheese if you want. Have like let's make a roast every week, for example. If you want a snack, like have the protein shake, but let's pair it with a fruit or something like that. Anyway,
Mhm.
so she's at this point where she's actually eating whole foods and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I feel such a difference." And I
Yes.
thought, "Wow, like that's wonderful. Yay." And
That
it's ironic.
awareness.
Yeah, because she said, and then to top it off, where I was like, wow, that's a lot of progress. Did you recognize that? Is because this past week she couldn't go to the grocery store. She ran in real quick, or she didn't have time to get like meals. And she ended up getting like 3 protein bars, like and something else and something else and something else. And it was just kind of like watermelon and just kind of like quick grab and go foods. And she had all of
Mhm.
them at once for a meal. And she said, and she does food journaling. And she said, when I had that, I felt like absolute ass. She goes, "Before, I wouldn't have even noticed that I felt that way." She goes, "But
Mm.
now that I've been focusing on caring for myself through
Yes.
behaviors of nutrition, like quality and choosing these nourishing foods, I noticed this huge difference."
Yeah.
So, and it's for this same client too, another thing and what another topic we're gonna go into is she wasn't resting at all, and so she
Mm.
was working out 6 to 7 days a week. Now she comes here once, a week, and then she has, like, a little at-home workout, and it's
Mhm.
just like it's essentially a 3-day-a-week training program that she's got, and so she was talking about, like I was like, "Well, how does that feel?" Because that's different, right? And she goes, "It's just so nice to, like, not have to do anything, to rest and to take the time that I need to take care of myself." I was like,
Yes.
"Yes, so rest, like, we need to
Mhm.
rest and eat nourishing foods. We need to listen to the body and what it's been asking for."
Absolutely. And, we have so many clients who never rest.
Right.
And one client I have been talking about here and there, she texts me today. So she's been on a 3-day program, whereas when she came to me, I believe she was doing 6 days a week plus cardio.
Oof.
Um, she wasn't seeing changes in her body. She was not eating enough. And we pulled her back on her movement, increased her food. She looks absolutely fantastic. But today she told me she went back to the functional health doctor that she's been to.
Mhm.
This would be our third time since us working together. The first time her cortisol was through the roof. Second time her cortisol was still high. So we talked about this client. Like
Yeah, I
it
was
was
gonna say we've got
lower.
her up before.
Yeah, it was lower, but it was still high because it was so high.
Oof.
Now they told her she's in the optimal range.
Yay.
She no longer has to follow up with them. She's doing so well. And she's just like, I cannot believe this. I'm resting more. And like you said, she's focusing more on the things that do actually provide our body with more, even more connection, which are things we're going to talk about here in a few, but like, meditation and journaling and just walking and being in nature. It's been so good for her. And, obviously, if we are not listening to our bodies, I talk about my hip injury. Remind me what you had surgery on.
Literally the labral tear in my hip. So
Oh,
you and I have
oh,
remember
okay.
we have the same thing because
Oh,
we're
I
the
don't
same.
remember that
Yeah,
because we are
we're
the
the
same
same.
person, but
Yeah.
different. Um, I didn't realize that. Like, okay, so let's talk about listening to yourself. I was in
Yeah.
pain. So, your pain and pleasure awareness is incredibly important when you're listening to your body. Okay, I was in pain. I was working out through it. I ended up on the floor in the fetal position in my house.
Uh-huh.
Mark took me to the hospital. The doctors were like, I think you had a kidney stone. And I was like, okay. I didn't have anything, like I had some pain, but not as excruciating as it feels right now. They took a CAT scan or whatever scan they did, and they're like, oh, it must have flushed through. And I was like, I don't think so. So anyways, I move on. It's still hurting. I think it's a kidney stone, so I'm still training. Then someone's like, maybe it's a hernia or a psoas. So I go get checked for that. They're like, I don't think it's a hernia, but it could be your psoas is really tight.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, Sonia, full circle, was like, why don't we just get you an MRI? I'm like, thank you. Could someone give me an MRI? 6 months later.
Yeah.
She's like, let's get you an MRI. She's like, it's frayed. It's not torn. It's frayed. And then I have arthritis in that hip. And so, I was in so much pain as I sit here and talk about it. It feels painful.
I know. I'm like, there's that lingering, like kind of, what's it called when someone loses a limb? Phantom limb.
Oh, phantom. Yeah. But we wouldn't have, if I wasn't listening to myself and then also advocating for myself because I was listening to my body, which is something I talk about with the Dr. Julie. We talk about it here in a few, what episode was that we just recorded? Female Fitness Lies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can also advocate for yourself when you are in pain, but then also know when you're feeling better, that pleasure point. I mean, let's talk about sex. If you're mindless and you're not listening to your body, like you may not climax because you're just in this aloof space. Hopefully you're not numb. If that's happening, you need to get some work around that.
Mm-hmm.
But that pain, pleasure, I'm touching the hot stove, that's your body. You would listening to your body. And obviously that would help you with things like sensing danger, right? Yep. Protecting yourself. Y'all know when you get that feeling. And sometimes it could be a feeling about a person, a situation, whatever. And y'all be like, oh no, these red flags are green.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going with this dude, right? As you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There's a protective response that your body is, when we're listening to it, when we're actually listening to it, that it's going to help you with not just, a bear's coming at me, but also this person is not healthy, not safe. They're toxic, all of those things.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add to that list?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just more so of, we need to be aware that there's a signal coming, and it doesn't, like, we're talking about essentially, like right now we had just talked about physical, before you had talked about emotional, like there is an emotional thing that's missing here. But I think it's more so of, there is a signal, like you're saying, coming from our body, whether it's in our gut, right? Whether it's a pain sensation, whether it's a hesitation, those are all signs or communication from your body to your brain that we need to start paying attention to, or at least if we have already started, further reinforce and encourage, right? Mm-hmm. So like you can listen to your gut feeling, but if you're pushing through it and going through and now you're getting pain, well, now I've got two signals coming to me that I've just ignored.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Your nervous system, your senses, your guts, your brain, those are all things that they're there. They're designed to give you the awareness that you need to keep you alive, right? Gotta stay alive. So let's talk about how someone can begin to trust their bodies and why creating trust in your body is so important. So when we're not listening to our body, when we're pushing through, we're not resting, we're not listening to the cues, we're not trusting our bodies, right? And we're not trusting ourselves in all reality. We're saying, no, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to do all these other things that are counter to what you're telling me to do. So if that was a person, you'd be like, well, I can't trust you then because I'm asking you to do these things and you're not doing them for me, right? And so we really need to learn to build self-reliance and learn how to, check in with our bodies. And one of the things that we've talked about, is actually have our clients set alarms, or we put them in the tasks in Everfit that say, mine say, what am I thinking, feeling, and need right now, or something like that. And have them do one in the morning and one in the evening so that they can begin to just stop and say, what do I need? And one of the easiest acronyms that I do for that is HALTS: hungry, angry, lonely, tired, sick, or the way I explain it: hungry, angry or emotional, lonely or unsupported, tired, or sick and in pain. So halts is a great way for you, if you can set that alarm, just go through that. Am I hungry? Am I angry or emotional? Am I lonely or feeling unsupported? Am I tired? Am I sick or in pain? And just go through that, set an alarm for that. And that's going to be super helpful in being able to at least understand and gather data about your body's response around certain things.
I agree. Yep. Nothing to add. Well, I'm thinking, yep, nothing to add. I would just practicing that too. And even like, how do we build on that is when we do recognize. So for example, say I am angry, instead of being like, well, fuck, now I'm angry, right? It's the next step that I encourage clients or anybody to take is kind of almost congratulating yourself that you are now recognizing it. So now we're reinforcing and enhancing this confidence that we're able to like say, oh, that is how I feel. So when we ask about we had an episode on progress, not perfection, essentially, right? So perfection would essentially be, well, I identified it, that's perfect. Now what? But progress would be identified it, reflecting back what made me angry, what's something I can do next time this situation happens or something like this, or that I'm feeling this way. And then, wow, isn't it really great that I recognized that feeling, that sensation, or that pain point, and I stopped. Like for me, for example, one thing that I did is I wanted to get back to hiking. This is post-op. And so I was going up. I had gotten the okay from my PT at the time. And I was going up Piestewa, and all of a sudden I felt my hip and my back kick in. And old me would have just kept going and been like, don't be a bitch. Like, let's go. And then I would have been disappointed because my time would have been longer than my average and all that shit. Current me, or at the time, I literally stopped, thought through it, because I think that's what a lot of people, when they don't have this body awareness, they don't want to think through it. It's just, I don't know, this is just how I feel, right? Like they don't want to investigate the why of that's happening. So I thought, like, if I keep going, it's going to hurt worse. Like I've worked very hard. Like at least I got to this point. And I literally turned around and started going back downhill. And I had to keep telling myself, because I can either tell myself, wow, I can't believe you did that. Like you're such a wuss. It should be better. But I kept telling myself, isn't that great that you listen to yourself? Isn't that great? Like this is so hard to keep going down this mountain, but I'm so proud that I'm listening to myself. I'm so proud that, and again, like I had to fake it till I made it, you know, and I hate that saying, but I had to keep telling myself and reinforcing, like, this is really hard and that's okay. This is the harder thing. Like, aren't you so proud? And so I think over time that builds more and more of this confidence of I'm able to recognize this feeling, and now I'm able to identify it, and then I can move forward and have a solution that is more, I don't want to say normal, but like will get you through life a little bit easier. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you build that confidence, obviously you're building your intuition too, right?
Yes.
So now it's not this like, I have to sit and listen, and it's kind of this like scheduled thing. Now I intuitively can listen to myself, right? And I develop that intuition through building confidence. And I have built confidence through not only listening, but one thing that when you were talking, I was thinking about is a concept I use called future self. Like, how does what your choice right now going to affect your future self? Right? Because you could have gone up, and that's what you did. I just always, I got a name for
context to it.
Right. So if you would have kept going, future Amanda would have maybe prolonged her rehab for 6 more months. Who knows? Right. For me, and that's what I thought about today, yesterday. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, I'm at like 1,700 steps right now. Like, I probably had the same yesterday.
Yeah.
And does it mess with my head? Sure. But in my mind, I'm like, number one, I needed to rest. If I don't want to be so sick that I can't do my job, right? Me and you, like as business owners, when you're out, it's hard. It's hard because there's so many things that need to be done. Now, that's not pushing into the toxic resilience side. I mean, if I would have kept going, I would have been pushing into that. But more importantly, I could have gotten very, very sick. Not to say I don't know what's going to happen because I feel terrible. But I'm always thinking, what's best for my current self and my future self? And I think that's something that you did in that moment. And then as you build on that, that's going to be so intuitive that it will help guide you to make choices, healthier choices more easily and be able to react from your body. And when you do that, I mean, you are strengthening that trust and relationship with yourself, and that's so important. The trust in your body, the trust in the process, your preferences, how you feel, how you don't feel. That portion is so important because as I build trust, then if I'm trusting my body, and we didn't even put this in the notes, but like it literally like spider webs into your behaviors, right? Into your mindset, like I'm upset right now. I deserve to be upset. That thing that just happened, I don't like, and I'm feeling angry because that's my body telling me I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so funny that you say that because there was a client, another one that came today, and a good example of this, of like building trust within yourself. Because what I think a lot of people do when they are in this disassociative state with their body or their mind or their emotions is they automatically think like they're a loser or they're a fat ass or they're like just this like they don't have a good self-confidence. They don't value themselves. Like if, say, for example, you said those things and I'm looking at you like, I would never say that about you. Like, I think you're strong, independent, like all that stuff. They don't see what other people think of you. Right. And so, for example, this gal today, she essentially, I don't want to say binge, but would overeat chocolates at night. And so when I saw her a couple of weeks ago, I was like trying to find out, like, is it an emotional response? Did we have a bad day? What is actually happening? Well, it turns out she's just not really paying attention to the flavor. Right. But she thinks when she equates her doing over the chocolates, she's thinking of like, I just don't know what to do. Like she's seeing herself in a negative light and thinking of like that she can't do it, and low self-confidence, we'll say, in a bundle. Today I saw her and I was like, how's that, trick going? Because I have her eat it slowly, eat it mindfully, and have as many as you want. But chances are, because it turned out the not the issue, but the substance was she wasn't just enjoying the chocolate, right? So she was reaching for more and more. And she goes, it's so wild how simple that was. And now I know, like, I have the decision. So the decision hasn't been made for her anymore. She's choosing if she wants the fourth or fifth piece. And so she's like, it's nice to know, like, oh, I actually didn't want that other piece. And I can say I don't have to have this next piece that I thought I left out. And I'll just put it back. And so it's giving her like confidence and independence of like food choices and what her mind is actually telling her. So it doesn't even have to be in a physical sense, but it could be like in this simple little thing of just having chocolates. She's recognizing like, oh, now I'm strengthening this body connection to my mind.
I love that. Love it. So let's go into that. Let's talk about things that people can do to enhance their body awareness. Again, we've already touched on, setting a timer and having regular check-ins, which is totally doable. You can do it on your phone as a reminder. What am I thinking? How do I feel physically? We didn't even touch on like cognitive, but brain fog is a thing. Like headaches are a thing. Like we need to be paying attention to it. And then what do I need right now? And then using the halts. For those of you who've been through AA, I added the S. So HALT came from the program. I added the S because I know when I'm sick.
Did you know AA is one of the most successful rehab programs?
No.
You should. So there's this movie. It's called, oh shoot, I'm going to have to look it up. It's a really, really good movie. And it's about the industry of like rehab. And it goes into like the financial aspect of it and kind of like,
I've seen it firsthand, baby.
Yeah. I don't want to say the deception, but the deception or the kind of the false premises. And it's AA or NA, any of those like kind of brands is actually the most successful of keeping people off
I love that.
substances. I forget what it's called.
I love that. I have a client who's been children of alcoholic parents.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because I work from a codependency model and they also kind of work from that model, but not in the same exact way, but the way that they speak, it's just aligning so well. And she's learning so much. So it's awesome. But yeah, the halt came from AA.
Okay.
And I added the S, sick or in pain, because for them, it's usually from hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These are times when I am, I'm going to say this wrong, more vulnerable to using. I think that's what it is. I will check on that. But the way I use it is I use it in a lot of ways. I use it in this aspect of checking in with myself. I use it in like when you're more vulnerable to binge eating, right? So there's a lot of ways to use it. I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that's not ours. We did not make that up. Another thing is mindfulness. Now, I just read mindful meditation has been shown in research to rewire your mind. Okay. So this is such a wonderful practice, but a mindful meditation around like a body scan. Maybe you do that at the end of your night. If you're feeling any pain anywhere, maybe you focus that pain on, you focus your breath around that pain. I mean, there's so many different meditations that you can do. A body scan can be a wonderful way to just kind of, you just scan literally scan, like, how am I feeling? Do I feel any tension anywhere? And you just go all the way down and all the way up. And if you have tension, like I said to you earlier, I have so much tension in my left shoulder right now. And it's causing me to feel like not great. So I'll probably go get the, not softball
cups,
the cross ball.
Yep.
Put it on that baby and get in there because it doesn't feel good.
No.
But mindfulness and meditation not only help you reconnect with your body, but they can also help you with rewiring your relationship with your brain. What are some other things that you suggest to help people reconnect with themselves?
Well, one thing for the mindfulness meditation, I like yoga nidra. And so it's not yoga, but it's yoga nidra. What it is essentially, it's like a body scan, but what it does is it's like body part by body part. So it'll be like, feel your thumbs, feel your finger, feel your third finger, feel your third. And it's a really nice voice and it takes you throughout your whole body. So like that's one I usually recommend clients do at night, right? Because it's supposed to put you in like a sleeping state. But again, connecting, like if I don't have any connection to like my fourth finger, that's a great way to try and find it, right? And it's easy. Or not it's easy, it's low cost, if at any cost. You're not having to like put it on while you're on a walk. Like you can do it while you're going to bed. Another thing that clients do is we talk about like journaling. So journaling your day, your experience, and you'll be able to look back and see, okay, maybe where is some of this, like looking at halt of being able to identify, like, I'm angry. Well, what happened in my day or the last couple days that I've recorded that may show why this anger is coming. And then, okay, so when I feel anger, and I know for like, we talk about where we feel it in our body. So when I feel anger and journaling that, I feel it in my throat. So maybe if you're feeling something in your throat in 6 weeks from now, you can be like, oh, what is that? And then you recognize like, that's usually where my anger is. Am I angry about something and what's been going on? So looking backwards as well.
Yes.
So journaling is a great, like, I don't want to say as objective, but kind of diagnostic or data-driven way to look at this too.
Yeah. And we do that with our clients. Like we work through the riding the wave of the emotion, like helping them see how just sitting with their emotion has a different response in their body than what they anticipate that response to be. That's a huge way to reconnect to the body, because oftentimes I hear clients say, I was putting so much emphasis or anxiety on feeling the feeling that I haven't been feeling in so long. And when I actually went through the exercise and documented it and sat with my thoughts, I realized it wasn't as hard as I anticipated. It literally went through my body like you said it would. And then I went on and did something else. That's a wonderful meditation / journal. We're talking about both of them. The other thing, like you said, like Yoga is amazing. Tai Chi is amazing. Just gentle stretching, like really feeling your body. I know for me, like when we're traveling, I have to get up and stretch. Like I cannot feel like I can feel like literally my muscles tighten up from sitting for so long, And so what are you doing? Are you dancing?
Well, I'm sitting on the ball today.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm doing my hip circles.
Gotcha. I need those right now.
Yeah.
And then lastly, of course, is seeking professional guidance, and that could be so many things, right? You've talked with, we haven't even touched on pelvic floor, right? If my body has incontinence or, I'm peeing in situations, which we've talked about, for me, it happens, or having pain or dryness or, pain during sex.
Yep.
I may go to someone like a pelvic health therapist, right?
Yep.
PT. Yep. Going to a therapist, a mental health therapist is going to help you. A coach that can help you with, okay, you can't get into your squat very deep. Let's go against the wall. Right. Or let's use a stability ball, right? To help us with that. So professional guidance is going to be super helpful in this. Obviously for us, we can work with the movement aspect of it, the mindset aspect of it, and the nutrition aspect of it. So it is kind of a one-stop shop. I can't do pelvic floor PT from here, but we can give them exercises even with connective breath, and ways to strengthen their core, and then also ways to pay attention to how their core is strengthened. So anything on professional guidance that you would add?
I don't think so. No, I wouldn't. I think you covered all of it.
Yeah. So pick up the phone, y'all. Your body's calling. Stop trying to, it's not a solicitor. It needs you to answer.
Or what's it called? A marketing campaign.
Oh God.
I know. Yeah. It's that time of year.
My in-laws have a phone line, like a home line. Yeah. And no one ever, and not once have I heard someone call them that they wanted to talk to.
Do they have cell phones?
They do. It's kind of a fun game for them. It's kind of hilarious. Yeah, they're like, my mother-in-law will like look at the caller ID and be like, who is this? Well, that's not what it says in my caller ID.
That's funny.
She just likes to fuck with them. So anywho, if you are someone who is like, wow, y'all are talking about things and that is totally me, I am not connected to my body, and you want to work with professionals who will help you in almost all aspects of reconnecting to yourself to then recreate your behaviors, your habits, all the things, we are the people for you. We are a one-of-a-kind program that allows you to do this in a one-stop shop. If you're interested in coaching with us, please look for the Clarity Call link below. We have multiple different programs you can run through. Other than that, if you want to find us on social media, we are at Mindset of Matter Coaching, and Amanda is
fitbyamanda.az.
You'll find these recordings on YouTube at The Mindset of Matter. And yeah, we've got some good stuff coming up. So just keep on keeping on. And like I said earlier, we'd love for you to share this. We'd love to have everyone all over the world listening to us, every single person. So please share these episodes, like, subscribe, rate. Also remember, we still have our t-shirt giveaway for the two people who won the t-shirts who have not reached out via email. It is in that episode show notes. If you want your shirt that says what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror, it's a workout shirt. Duh. That's the coolest shirt ever. I have one. Oh, no, this isn't. No,
that's not it.
I thought it said it down here. Yeah. Let us, if you do rate us with a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, you will be in a running for a shirt. So do it to it. And if you remember one thing and one thing only, remember this.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror.
Yay.
Goodbye.
Toodle.